What's up, world? You already know who it is. It's your favorite director, Maurice Paramore. We back with another episode of Direct Your Success, where you're in charge of your own destiny. We just need you to get up and go get it. Super excited today because I have a special guest, friend of mine. We go back many years, and I'm so excited to have her on the show. She's a government worker, professor, but also a real estate investor. So I really want to talk about that, right? How do we go from 9 to 5 or working a 9 to 5 and still be able to do our side hustles? So I'd like to welcome my friend to the show, Shaniqua McRae. How you doing?
What's going on?
In the
Happy to be
building?
here. I'm in the building, baby.
I want to start off by saying, how's the year going so far for you?
It's going pretty good. The year started off with one word. That word was execute. And so I took that one word, shout out. I don't know if we could do shout outs, but shout out to Dr. Shannon Mason.
Yes.
Pastor, leader of New and Living Way Ministries. And that was the word to start the new year, execute. And not just execute in a sense of, she gave two different definitions, right? Execute is to establish something, to create something, but also to kill something. And I'm like episode of Wildin' Out. I'm gonna pick up and kill it and kill it and kill it, baby.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing
Yes.
on all avenues,
Yes.
whether it's on that full-time job, grinding every day, 9 to 5 ish.
Yeah.
And
Something like that.
That after
9 to 6,
hours
9 to 7.
stuff.
Yeah, I say. Keep going.
Grinding every
Yes.
day, execute.
Once that was planted in your head, was it kind of like, okay, it's go time, or you kind of already stepped into the year like execute, but you needed a word, a theme to kind of like go with it?
Yeah, I think it started before that. And it started, funny enough, with my aunt. I belong to this group on Facebook, and it's all about, Black women investing and just being in the real estate world. And I got that 9 to 5, right? So I don't have time to be monitoring everything they doing.
That's where we at right now.
But my aunt, that's her full-time hustle. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll link her up with it. And then the focus for her was getting as much information and motivation from the other ladies in the group. So we planned. She tells me, yo, this was like October sometime. She says, we going to DR. And I'm like, who is we? I have a full-time job.
Right.
So I said, you know what? Okay, maybe it's time to take a vacation.
Right.
So go out there, check out some real estate, and I'm locked in. I'm like, oh, what do I need to do? I need to get locked
involved
and
with this.
loaded.
Yes.
I need to get into this. And so long story short, we ended up purchasing a property while we were out there and started really moving and planning to see how can we get more, right? How can we take what we're doing stateside, working on different zip codes, right? Unlocking and flipping houses. How can we take that to also fuel what we're trying to do internationally? So that really started, I want to say October, November-ish.
Okay.
So when January came, I was already
You was
in
ready.
there. I was in that mode. It was just that reminder.
Yeah.
Keep plugging, right?
Right.
Keep executing. So that might mean a little less sleep, a little more coffee.
Starbucks, going to that stuff. You know what I mean?
Sponsor your boy.
Yes, indeed. You know what I mean? I did all my scripts, all my movies right in there.
Come on.
You went international this year with the real estate, but let's go back because I know Shaniqua, the government worker or the 9 to 5 worker. I know as long as we've been friends, you held down a job.
Hello.
You know what I mean? So
Several.
shout out to that. Couple jobs. Also knowing you to be a professor. So I know when you was even doing your 9 to 5, you was teaching and stuff like that. And then I know I haven't talked to you in a while. And then next you know, I'm just looking online and I see you fixed and flipped the house. And that got me intrigued because, a lot of times when I see people that are into investing, real estate, flipping and flip, fix and flipping and all of this stuff, they kind of like this is like their full time thing. You know, sometimes they start out in real estate. They start as like real estate. What's the agents?
Agents,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
stuff like that, and the next you know, or you know, they'll sell their own home, and then they kind of get the bug from that. But where did you kind of get into like, you know what, this can be something that I can kind of tap into as a side hustle as far as like real estate investing? Because I remember, you know, you having your own crib, and because you used to throw these parties in the Christmas in July stuff. This girl's crazy, right? She has all kinds of stuff. I'm like, why are we having the Christmas is in December? Why is there a tree in the middle of the summer? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and then I remember you moving from there, and I guess that kind of like started the real estate journey. Like, speak on that.
Yeah, so it started really based on a need, right? So my grandmother was in a situation, and I said, "Hey, you want to come live with me?" But where I was living at that time, you know, the infamous spot on the corner where Christmas in July would be popping every year.
Right.
The
Facts.
two bedroom,
Yeah.
you know, one bathroom,
Yeah.
cozy eating kitchen. You
Chilling.
know what I mean? That was the spot.
was a vibe.
But it wasn't big enough for her
Okay.
to come and stay there. So my wheels started turning. Hey, I need to get another place. So started looking for another place. Got a new place, and then the decision was like, okay, what do I do with this place? Do I
Right.
sell it? Do I keep it? Do I rent it out? So that was really the first journey, the start of the journey, and that was because I needed to do something with the property, so I kept it and I rented it out.
Okay.
And I wasn't looking to make money. It wasn't about that. It was just being able to cover the expenses, to keep paying the mortgage on it, and not having to pay two mortgages.
Right.
You know, I do all right with the government, but I need to.
I need a little extra coin. Trying to keep some of that in my pocket.
I got to make sure I can continue to, you know, enjoy the lifestyle I like. You know,
Right.
vacationing a couple times a year. You know, those sorts
You
of
vacation
things.
a lot.
Yeah. You know, you got to unlock some zip codes
You
every
gotta
now and
unlock some
again.
zip codes. Yes. I love it. Every time I look up, you somewhere else. You on some island.
You
But
know?
it seemed like a lot of times it'd be like back to back. So I'm not sure it's only 2 times a year. It'd be like 2 times this month. And then, you know what I mean? We coming back. No, it's definitely more than 2 times a year.
You know, it might be maybe like 3-4 times a year. But you know what though? It's the reward that you get
Right.
for working so hard.
Right.
And one thing that I've learned is that I don't just do all these side hustles just to be doing it, right? That's not the purpose. The purpose is to be able to enjoy myself
Right.
in ways that maybe I wouldn't be able to, right? Had I not had those extra streams of income.
Right.
And so those extra streams, they come in handy.
help.
Yeah, they help.
Now, when it just speaking on that in general, you know what I mean? Not that we really trying to talk about finance and stuff like that. Is that a way to kind of like separate things where you might have like your 9 to 5 that kind of just focus on your immediate bills, then you might just have another little side hustle that just might be just for vacationing or just for the real estate investing? Like, how do you kind of work all of these jobs in, or it's just like you like to stay busy, or how's
I think it's a combination, right? I like to stay busy. I'm not one who is sitting home and just like a homebody.
watching Netflix and that?
Nah, you know, I like a good Netflix. I remember back in the day, I used to always get on you like, bruh, you need to make some documentaries. That's what I like to watch.
Yo,
Make a
I'm
documentary
like,
for a sister.
my films was dark. She was like, "Yo, make a documentary." I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know anything about documentaries. I do like them though.
Yeah, so that's not really me. I found out that I enjoyed being away, right?
Yeah.
I enjoyed being with friends and just being able to relax, let your hair down. Nothing crazy, nothing
Right.
wild, but just taking time out to refuel, right? To re-up on the energy. Because although I enjoy doing a lot, sometimes it's draining. And doing a lot, not just with doing the full-time gig, but also teaching. I love to teach. I love working with students. I love seeing them grow. I love seeing them come back and reach out and say,
Right.
"Hey, professor, I'm doing this. Can you write me a reference? Can you hook me up? Are there any jobs that you're aware of?" So I really see that as a big part of my life, and I don't really see that changing. Me teaching that changing anytime soon. So I guess for at least another solid 10, 15 years, I would be
Unlocking more zip
multiple
codes.
jobs.
Yeah, yeah. That's important though. And I want to talk about that just from like almost like a mental health standpoint, where you actually just talked about it, like to kind of like reset some things. Sometimes you just got to kind of reset because we could grind. How important is it just to like, or do you encourage people to take vacations and stuff? Because some people don't vacation at all.
Yeah.
Like, you doing it 2, 3, 4 times a year. How important is that to kind of just like, okay, let's grind. Let's reset, take some time to ourselves, and then we'll get back at it.
Yeah. I found that not everything works for everyone,
Right.
right? So for me, I almost make it look easy, right? You see the photos, right? You're like, oh snap, she went there.
Yeah.
Oh, how she moving? How she doing that? Oh, she just sold a house like yesterday and tomorrow. First of all, it's social media, right?
So
So
you've seen all the highlights.
you see the
Yeah.
highlights,
Yeah.
right? You don't see when that bank account hit zero and negative $200 because
Yeah.
withdrawn the account, right? You don't see that, but that really is the reality, right?
Right.
And so sometimes people don't realize that it's not easy, right? But if you're motivated and you know what your goal is and you set your mind to it, you gotta
good.
go after it, right?
Right.
Like you said, this whole podcast here, series here, direct your success, right? Direct it as in you gotta be
You got to be on point. You got to go get it.
you gotta go get it,
Yeah.
right? You gotta be in
Nobody's
the
going to
in
get
the
it
in
to
the
you.
driver's seat,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Nobody's gonna take the wheel from you unless you let them.
Right.
So if you directing your success, you gotta figure out what that looks like for you. It
Right.
may not look like multiple streams of income.
Right.
It may look like you focusing on one stream and doing that one stream really well.
Wow. Yeah.
But what works for me
Is
is the
dividing it up a little bit.
is the divvy it up a little
Yeah.
bit, not devote all of my time to necessarily one thing,
One thing.
but at least devoting my time to the things that I find meaningful and the things that I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's not gonna say, "Ooh, I had a great time putting the luxury vinyl floor down."
Right,
Not everybody's
right.
gonna
Nah.
feel that way, right?
Nah.
Or, "Ooh, I enjoyed tiling that shower," right?
Mm-hmm.
That may not be your hustle, but you might say, "Yo, Shaniqua, I got a couple thousand. I want to get into, I want to put some money on the house
Right.
and see if I could fix it up, but I
Right.
don't want to be hands on." Hey, maybe we could do some
We can
work
figure
together.
it out. When you rented out your first house, you had no intention of this possibly being another side hustle. Why didn't you just sell it off the rip as opposed to renting it out? Did you really think about it?
I don't want to say I didn't think about it, but it seemed like it might be easier to just rent it out at that time. And now looking back on it, it definitely was a good idea, right?
Right.
Because at that time, the property values in the area, they definitely weren't anywhere near where they were when I ended up selling it, and they're definitely nowhere near where
it
they
is
are
now,
now.
yeah.
Part of me is like that part. I'm like,
Wish
yo,
I coulda
I
held
should
on
have
to that
held on
thing.
to
Yeah.
that thing. Just a little. But that's real estate. Real estate
Yeah.
it can be risky, right?
Can't time it perfectly.
It's a lot of risk, but there's also a lot of reward.
Right.
So you've got to be willing to take that risk for that potential reward.
Talk about that, because a lot of times people will sell something because they can't find reliable tenants, and that's a whole thing. You hear the horror stories about people trashing your house, doing X, Y, Z, this and that. So, you were lucky enough to have a decent tenant for a couple years, correct?
Yeah, so rented the place for 2 years, actually to a family member,
Mm-hmm.
and that's usually the first thing, right? Don't
Blood, what they say?
don't do business with family, right?
Yeah,
But
100%.
yo, big ups to fam that held me down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kept my place good, no issues whatsoever for the 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually kind of begging her, like, please, you sure you don't
Like, stay a little
you
longer.
want to stay a little longer?
Yeah.
Like, please, like, hold on, hold me down here. But it was time for her to move on to something bigger, better.
Right.
But what I ended up doing was the proceeds that I made from eventually selling that first property, which was my home.
Mm-hmm.
Lived there for, I want to say maybe almost like 13
Yeah, you were there
years.
for a minute.
Yeah, I was there for quite some time. So once I sold that property, I took the proceeds and used it to buy a property that I would fix and flip. First property, you hear the stories all the time. Oh, I wanna get into real estate. I wanna flip something. I'm watching HGTV.
Right.
Bruh,
It ain't like nothing
it
like
ain't
that.
nothing like that. Don't believe the hype, right?
Right.
Don't no. I'm telling you the truth, right?
So, how did you go about getting this first property? You took the proceeds from your house, and then you did you kind of just start like looking around? Did you what gave you the bug, and what was this first property like? Like, how
Oh,
bad was it, or
it
how
was
good was it?
it was trash, man. As my pastor's been on this journey with me. She came by and saw the place. She like, yo, it's snowing inside the house.
Like, hold up.
the back wall of the house was just like a piece of plywood, and it didn't go all the way to the ground. So it was like anytime it rained, snowed.
It's coming right to the house.
Oh yeah, it was coming right through the house.
Oh my goodness.
And I walked into the house, and this is where you have to have vision.
Okay.
If you don't have vision, I don't mean like, like you got some glasses on, bro. I know you can see me, right?
Yeah,
You can
yeah, I
see
can
me
see
on,
it. I
on
can
here,
see
right?
it. You know what I mean? You clear.
Crystal clear, right? You got to be able to see that thing.
Yeah.
And I was able to see it.
Okay.
Now there was some things that I didn't see so clearly in the
Right.
beginning, which was bad contractor after bad contractor after bad contractor. But the thing that kept me going and not really giving up on the project was I'm just not a quitter. Right?
Okay.
That's just not in my blood. And I don't mind putting in the sweat.
Okay.
Right? They always talk about, oh, with a little sweat equity, it'll take you
You
far.
can do this, yeah.
Yo, that sweat was real. It was
a
real
lot of
salty
sweat.
too.
Yeah. Like for real.
That was some real sweat. Like
Yeah.
late nights, early mornings, before I got to go to work, going by the house, doing things. 6 o'clock in the morning. It was never ending.
Yeah.
But I knew I had to finish it. Right, I wasn't just gonna start it and then just give up, throw my hands up because I'm hemorrhaging money.
Right.
Right, I gotta keep a roof over my head. Right, so remember I got my grandmother living with me. Right,
Yeah.
Old girl ain't gonna be feeling it.
Right.
If the lights go off,
She like, listen.
she ain't got no more honey buns
Right.
in the cabinet. Right.
It's like, come on now.
She'll be like, "What's going on? I ain't move over here to be destitute."
Right.
So I had to
You had to see it all the way through.
see it through.
Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do is see something through where, so many times we just like, you know what, it's just probably easier for me to just walk away from this situation, right? Bow down and say, look, it's just too much, right? You got a full-time job. You got a part-time job. You teaching. Like, it's like, what same person would even want to go through this, right? So what actually keeps you going? I know you're not a quitter, but like, you decent without it, right? So it's like, why do we, just I mean, because even when I think about me as like a filmmaker and stuff like that, it's so many easier journeys to kind of go through, right? And you sometimes you sit there and say when you go through your moments of discouragement where you're like, yo, why am I putting myself through this, right? So you probably was like, okay, yeah, you watching HGTV and you're like, oh, I can do this, I can do this. Now you're in a mix of it, and you go through it, and you can kind of allude to once you got into your second property, but it's like, what makes us say I'm gonna go through this and I'm gonna keep going through this? Like what helps you push through it?
I think what helped me most was the people around me.
I was just about to say that. Did you have a good support?
Come on,
Because
now.
that's a big part of it.
100.
That's a huge part of it, yo. Because a lot of times, and I'll let you speak on that, a lot of times me being an entrepreneur, making films, doing a lot of this stuff for myself, I run off a lot off my own energy. And you really can only do that but so much. Run off your own energy, right? Because you'll get to a point where you'll hit a wall and you need people around you to say, you know what? No, you actually are going in the right direction. You just need a little bit of this, maybe extra resource, maybe a little bit of money. We love that money. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be. So, talk about that aspect in your support system.
Yeah, definitely that support system. Not just encouraging me like with their words, right, but also with their actions.
Okay.
So that first house, snow coming in the house, right?
Yeah, ready to just dip out like, nah, I'm good.
muddy backyard, stuff everywhere, right? It wasn't the folks who were like, oh yeah, you could do it. Oh yeah, you remember back at your house, you put that cabinet in,
Right.
girl, you did that, right? They wasn't just saying you did that. I'm calling them saying, yo, can you come through and help me paint this?
I did that, but help me do it this time. You know what I mean?
Come help me hang these cabinets,
Right.
right? Because I ain't got no money to pay somebody to do it. We'll watch the YouTube video together.
We'll figure it out together. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
But
And that's what they did.
Sometimes you need that. You just need that little bit of boost to say, you know what, I can go. I can not only can I do this, but I don't have to go through it alone. Because that's a lot. That's sometimes you just don't want to go through things alone, man. And if you have somebody that's willing to take the ride with you, how many times somebody call you on your day off and like, yo, what you doing? I ain't doing that. You want to take this ride with me? Because sometimes you just don't want to go through the storm yourself. You know what I mean? And kudos to your support team because that's really important.
Yeah, they hold me down, not just encouraging me when, stuff gets tough. And I don't get, I can say this now, that's kind of like a testimony that I don't get down like that.
Okay.
I really try to see the positive in most things, right?
Yeah.
But there was a time where I did, like, I wouldn't want to do things. But now I'm the one that's always ripping around. Nah, let's go. We can do it. I know my body weary, but my mind is strong, right? That one muscle is working.
Yeah.
We got to get in there and grind and do it to not just for ourselves, right? But to show people that it's possible.
And that's a big thing because you don't realize that it's people looking up to you as well. You know what I mean? And not just people that you can actually see and you have a direct connection to, but just on social media, you got people looking up to you, right? You failed, and it's like, oh, well, maybe I can't do this, right? Because I was looking up to her. She's so upbeat and so positive. Like, I've never seen you not positive. I've never not seen you the way I see you today. As long as we've been friends, I don't know what it's like being around you every day because I know everybody have their bad days. But is that by design? Because everybody has their bad days. Do you handle your bad days a little different than the average person? Because there's certain days when I'm just like, I think I'm a fairly positive person. I'm very I'm willing to I have a little more patience than the average person, but I have very bad days when I don't want to deal with anybody and I can't hide my face. But I don't know. I rarely see you like that.
It's funny because at work, that 9 to 5 every day, it's like I'm smiling, I'm upbeat. I'm the one that's always cracking jokes, telling stories. Yeah, I get work done. Yeah. But I'm.
Oh, you do that though.
Oh yeah, I do that. I work for that.
She
check.
does work.
Ain't no freeloading over here. I work for that
right,
money.
Right.
But I think maybe it is by design, maybe because of things that you generally go through in life. At some point you get to a point where it's like, I can't control everything, right? But the things that I can control the outlook that I have on them, and what would do me better, right? Would it be better for me to be down
Right.
about it, or would it be better for me to try to take a positive from it,
Right.
right? And I think that people were surprised after my first project in real estate. It took much more money and way longer
Than you
than
expected.
I had expected. And so when I sold that property, I was like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus! I got through it. I was happy to be done with it.
Like, I'm done. Thank you.
I'm done."
Yeah.
And I said, "You know what? I need a break because right now my credit is in the dumps because I literally had to."
Use
I
everything
didn't.
you
I,
had.
I
every
had to use
resource.
everything except for stealing. I didn't. You know, they say I had to beg, borrow, and steal. No, I didn't get to the. It
Everything
wasn't
but
that bad.
You had to rob Peter to pay Paul.
I did a little
A little
robbing.
bit. She's like, no, I actually did do that. But I ain't
I just
steal.
did steal.
Yeah,
right?
just did steal. I did everything else though. Literally.
I had to phone some friends. I had to call some family. Right?
Yeah.
Say, yo, run me a
hurting.
check.
Yeah.
You know, meeting on the side of the road.
Right. I need something. Anything you can throw in the pot. This pot empty right now.
I need something to hold me over.
Right.
But it was I needed to do what I needed to do to get
Right.
it done.
Right.
But I also needed some time to recoup, right? So sometimes you do have to take a pause, right? And evaluate, where am I going with this, right? It seemed all fun and games in the
Right.
beginning, right? Like, oh, let's do this, let's flip, da 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 da. Like that seemed cool, but to what end?
Right.
Right? I was doing a whole lot. I think at one point I was teaching 3 classes in one semester. And then going to the house.
And hitting that afterwards. Yeah. That's a lot.
It was a lot.
That's a lot.
But I was like, yo, I need the hustle. I need the hustle. And I'm thinking about the future constantly, right? Like I don't always want to have to work.
Right.
Right? So I'm able body now.
You doing what you can
So
now.
do what I can now, right? So when I don't want to, I don't have to.
Right. Right.
And that has to be the mindset.
That's a great mindset, because you have to be looking into the future, and a lot of times people kind of only see what's right in front of them, right? And that can be detrimental in the long run, where it's like, yo, we just gonna get it now, we doing this, we partying, whatever the case may be, and then you wake up 10, 15 years later and you like, dang, I wish I would have done it a little different. I wish I would have saved a little more. I wish I would have invested a little more. I wish I would have, locked in on some of these opportunities. But you thinking now for the future and trying to make sure that you can actually, instead of 2 or 3, 4 vacations, now you can be vacationing for the rest of your life. That's kind of how you're looking at it.
Absolutely.
I think you want to be a world traveler. I think that's ultimately what you're trying to get to. This is just a stepping stone.
Yeah, I want to unlock every zip code.
Every last one.
Every last one of them. I want to unlock them. I want to see what they got in store for me.
Yeah, that's super dope. Are you like one of those people that's like if you just travel in the states, you want to hit all the states and then maybe hit certain? Are you like that, or are you just kind of like wherever it feels, where you want to go? Is it more like a feeling type of thing?
It's more so a sun type of thing. Like I like sun.
Okay.
Like to get a little chocolate,
So when
chocolate on
when
this
it's
skin.
snowing out here, you like to go where it's warm.
Yeah, where the sun is. Yeah. I definitely like the islands, like that vibe.
Yeah.
I like not something too fast paced, right? I think as you get a little bit older, you like to slow it down a little bit,
Right.
especially with trying to doing all these different jobs, right? So
Right.
that can be very fast paced. So sometimes it's nice to just kind of slow down, take in the sun, take in the sights, and just enjoy and breathe clean air. You know, it's a good feeling.
Still sticking with the first flip. What was some of the biggest challenges that you faced with the first flip? You know, you got in, you buy the spot, you said it's snowing inside. You know, you dealing with all these things that you kind of didn't really think about or even like kind of peep. Because I think when you excited about some things, sometimes you don't see it all. You're like, dang, I missed that. I probably should have checked that off but before we got this. You know what I mean? But now that you're in, you're fully invested. What were some of the challenges that you were dealing with? I know
think
you
the
talked about
biggest
the
challenge
contractor.
was not having a solid team.
Okay.
Right. I had a contractor that I thought was on point, but then one thing that I can say, regardless of what arena I'm in, I'm a pretty decent judge of character after, getting to know somebody for a little bit. And then after some time, it was just like, this dude ain't it.
This ain't it. Yeah.
This ain't it. This is not working out for me. And I could do bad all by myself.
I can take over this project myself. Yeah.
And so that started the hunt of trying to find someone that was reliable, on the same page with me. Sometimes contractors, they like to fix up things maybe to their liking.
Okay.
Right. And they're not always cost savings minded.
Okay.
So really trying to find somebody that was on the same page with me
what you was
with
trying to
that.
do.
Yeah, because in the beginning and the middle of the deal, as the investor, you're not making any money. You're just putting out money left and right, putting out money.
Right.
And so that contractor, they're making money
Everybody
in
else
that
getting
process.
paid. Yeah.
Everybody else is
So it's
getting
good
paid.
with them. Yeah.
And I'm not seeing a penny. So I got to make sure that at the end of it, there's some pennies.
There's some pennies for you.
There's something for me in
Yeah.
it, right? You know,
Right.
I'm managing the project myself. If I were to give anyone any advice, right, they're looking into investing in real estate. If you're not handy, get handy.
ASAP. Yeah.
Even if you know how to do something simple like painting doors,
Right.
just something like be
Right.
able to do at
Cut
least
some of that.
something
Yeah.
on your project. And then the second thing I would say is, if you're really, really not handy, right, then don't get projects that are going to require a lot of work, right?
Okay.
That project was probably a little bit more work than I would suggest that anyone else go out and do.
Especially starting.
Starting, right? The first project, no, I had no interior walls, no electrical, no plumbing, no nothing. Like it was
a complete gut job.
yeah, it was all, like the guy gutted the whole place out. He was building an extension and just dug a hole in the ground.
It was just like,
It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess. So it was definitely more work than I had skill to do.
okay.
But again, it's that mindset. I was like, yo,
I'm still gonna see through.
I'm gonna figure it out. So I had to learn some things. YouTube University helped me out tremendously,
Yeah.
and it was some late nights, and I got it done.
How are you managing your time? You know, because you're full-time working, 9 to 5, maybe 9 to 6, 9 to 7, whatever the case may. You professor, so I'm guessing you're doing that a couple days a week.
So it's the unique thing about my time and my schedule, because I'm teaching on an online format. I don't have a set time that I have to do my work.
Okay.
Right. So that's really like the beauty of it. And what I typically do is I do try to set a schedule for myself to say, hey, on these days after work, I'm going to come straight home and I'm going to try to grade papers, or I'm going to try to send emails out to students, or I'm going to, set up schedule sessions or whatever the case may be. So definitely planning out some of that stuff.
Right.
Believe it or not, although I travel,
Right. Yes. Often. Often.
my friends will tell you hands down, when I travel, I do work. And so the flight time is typically the time that I will grade
do work.
papers and
Okay.
send emails, things like that. And so I actually plan for that. Like,
Okay.
hey, I'm gonna take a trip.
Part of
I
it's
make
gonna
sure,
be,
yeah, part of it's work, right?
yeah.
So gotta
Can't
make
shut
sure
down
that
completely.
Nah, definitely not. And I'm okay with it because it's downtime, right? So you sitting on the plane. What else are you doing?
Yeah.
They got Wi-Fi.
You gonna watch TV or you gonna do some work or sleep?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I write. I usually on the planes I write. I don't really like sleeping on planes. I don't know why. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't sleep on
And they
planes either.
say it's. I don't know what they. I forgot who was talking about it, but they said being on a plane, being at that altitude for some reason is really a good time to be creative. I don't know what it does to the brain, but they said it's really good for creative writing and stuff like that. It's funny because Tyler Perry says he talks about it when he does his flight from like the East Coast to the West Coast. It's a good 5 hour flight. He'll get a good 25% of a script done, and I don't know what it does, but it's supposed to do something to the brain that just helps you be a little more creative. So
Okay, so it sounds like we need to take some more
got to
flights.
take some more clothes. You get a
Hey.
lot more work done. You know what I'm saying? So before we segue, if somebody is working a 9 to 5 job and they want to get into real estate and stuff like that, what advice would you have for them? And you kind of alluded on a little bit, but how would you what advice would you give them to like how to manage their time and stuff like that? Or for the one that says I don't have enough time, I work 9 to 5, I come home, I gotta cook dinner, somebody that might be married or whatever case, I might have kids or whatever the case may be. I know you don't have kids, but like how do you what's your advice for managing that kind of time?
So the first thing that I would say is do what works for you, right? You've got to know yourself first
That's
before
big.
you try to journey to into something.
If this ain't you, don't do it. Don't listen. It ain't for everybody.
It ain't for
If you
everybody.
can't handle it. Yeah. That's good advice.
Is you have to know yourself, right? So you started by saying, I don't have a family, right? Like I don't have to come home and cook for the kids and this and that. So yeah, I can travel.
Right. That's your time.
That's my time, right? I don't have to spend money on diapers and
Yeah.
no shade to anybody that does, but if you know that that's a priority that's set above other things,
Yeah.
then maybe you've got to check that, right?
Right.
Because is that something that you're willing to sacrifice?
Right.
And so the things that I sacrifice look different than the things that other people sacrifice, right? So I might sacrifice my sleep, but that doesn't, the only person that affects is typically just me.
Right. Right.
If you're a caretaker, like I do have my grandmother who lives with me, and that's a responsibility.
Right.
But I also have support that helps with that,
Okay.
right? So you have to know what your limitations are, but also what you have support and you're immediately available to you, because otherwise you can get into something that you're not ready
Way
for.
above your head.
Is
Yeah.
what and you start drowning, right?
Yeah.
And what do we do when we start drowning? We panic,
Yeah.
right? And then we start making irrational
Bad
decisions,
decisions.
and
Yeah.
then it just becomes like a ripple effect.
Snowball effect.
Yeah.
But I think the key word that you said is a sacrifice. And I think regardless of what your situation is, you have to come into it knowing that you're going to have to sacrifice something. It's whether it's going to be, sleep, it's going to be money, it's going to be, time with the lady or time with the husband. Something is going to have to get sacrificed, unfortunately, to be able to take a step forward with something. And sometimes people don't realize that. They think that, I can just kind of keep everything going. Something has to take a back seat, right? Regardless, whether it's going, like you said, sleep or XYZ or a trip, you might not be able to take this trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something just going to have to be sacrificed in order to reach your dreams. So I think that's one of the things that people have to know going into it. Like, okay, what am I? Because I think anytime you want to gain something, sometimes something's going to have to be lost or sacrificed. It's just unfortunately that's just how the game goes. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's
yeah.
like, okay, I know going into it, I might have to put this to the side. I might not be able to, watch the games when I want to watch the games, play games, whatever the case may be. I think sacrificing is an important thing. And like you said, for you, it might have been just sleep, but that could be a big thing, especially when
yeah.
you're working 3-4 jobs.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want to
Want to
sacrifice,
sacrifice,
some sleep. You need your sleep, you know what I mean? So that's a real thing,
Yeah. And knowing that up front, right, what you're gonna be sacrificing is good, right?
Right.
But sometimes you go into it and not realize, whoa, I'm gonna have to sacrifice some other things that I'm not sure I'm ready to give up. And so that becomes a pivotal point for you to make that determination. Am I ready to do that? Or is this all worth it?
Right.
Right.
Is the juice worth the squeeze? I learned that, especially as you get older, right? And it's funny talking about jobs, X amount of jobs, right? I think anything that we're doing in life, especially as you get older, when you're young, you kind of just run and gun and do whatever, and it's like it works, it don't work. You know, you could take a lot of losses, you can make a lot of mistakes. As you get older in your 30s and 40s, those you can't make as many as mistakes as you did in your young and past because it'll catch up to you. Um, and but I say all that to say, at the end of the day, is it worth the work that you're putting in? And I
Yeah.
think that's a big important thing.
Yeah. And I can say for me, it's been worth it. And probably in ways that I didn't go into it thinking
Right.
that that's what the outcome was going to be. Right? So I didn't go into it thinking, man, if I start this real estate journey, other people are going to get inspired by it. I didn't think that, right? I thought, man, they making that bread, baby.
And I'm about to be making that bread too. That's what we looking at. We trying to get these numbers.
I saw it as that. Like I always felt like I didn't want to be in a position where I couldn't support myself. Not that I was like without,
Yeah.
right? But you look at
You can always use a
where
little
you
more
came,
coins.
where you come from,
Right.
right? And like what's in your zone of control. And I don't know if it was part of me being like not a control freak, but like wanting to control a lot of things that are going on and have my hand in a lot of different things. But I think in the long run, it's helped me, but it's also helped me to create maybe a little bit more balance too, and recognize that I can't control everything,
Can't.
but the things that I can, right? Let's be intentional about what I'm doing with the control that I have, right? So if I can make this money doing some real estate investing, put some of it to the side, what is my life down the line gonna look like? Am I gonna look back and say, oh, I regret doing that, or I
Yeah.
spent too much time doing that?
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes like your family, your support system to kind of check you, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
are you living a balanced life,
Right.
right? Is it, are you putting too much time in one thing versus another? And then just constantly reevaluating.
We go into it, for business, to make profit. I mean, you know, that's like part of it, but then you start to realize that it's actually it's bigger than that.
For me, it's not just about the check. It's really about the transformation and seeing the joy in someone getting their first home,
Right.
right? And it's funny because when I think about the last two houses that I sold, they went to first time home buyers.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
And so that was really cool. I had the opportunity to meet the last buyer during the inspection. So we met prior to being at the closing table. And when I met her when she was at the house for the inspection, I said to her, sis, I got you. I said, whatever we need to do,
We're going to make it happen.
we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, that's dope. That is super
we
dope.
we gonna make it happen. She had been looking for a house for almost 2 years. And it was deal after deal that fell through, and for one reason or another.
Right.
And this house was it for her. And she's like, I really need this to go through. I said, sis, I got you.
We're going to make it happen.
We gonna make it happen. I'm gonna see you at that
Yeah.
closing table. And she was like, I didn't know if you really. I'm like, yeah, I told you, I'm gonna see you there. I'm gonna show up. I wanna
See this whole thing
congratulate
through.
you. I
Yeah.
wanna see it through.
Yeah.
This is something that you work so hard for, and as did I, right? Like
Yeah.
I put my sweat
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
thing, putting
Yeah.
the floors down late at night.
So you was part of that whole building process.
I was in there.
You're helping out other people fulfill their dreams. You putting people in a space that they can call their own. But like I mentioned before, you have so many other people now that are looking up to you. Do you think about those things, or do you kind of just still kind of like, focus on, what you got to get, what you got to do, what you kind of came into the game for? Do you do that them thoughts kind of creep into your mind? Like, this is a lot bigger than Shaniqua now.
Yeah, I think it often comes into my mind that it's not just for me, right? I'm not the only one that is benefiting, but also possibly gonna have a consequence because of what I do,
Right.
right?
You
So
mess it up.
if I
It's on
yeah,
you.
yeah, it's pressure on both sides of it, right?
Right.
So if I don't make wise decisions and I don't have money to pay my contractors, right? Like that's not a good feeling.
Right. Right.
Right? So you want to be able to stand firm on what you're doing and understand that you don't live in a world that's isolated from everyone and everything else,
Right.
right? What you do impacts other people. And so my goal is always to have as much of a positive impact as I can, right?
Right.
And give back in ways that maybe other people can't, right?
Right.
And maybe in ways that I never even imagined that I would be able to.
Right. Okay. So before we, get on out of here, we got to talk like a little more of the business aspect of it. A little bit of the numbers and stuff like that. Like when you're going into a real estate deal, when you're going into buying a house to fix and flip, what are you actually looking for? What are the numbers where this may be a bad deal or just too high, or when you trying to think about your ROI, what kind of like makes sense, or what kind of like do you have like a formula that you kind of looking at?
Well, the formula is really set by, in my opinion, by the lender, right? I can only talk about what I've done, right? And
Right.
so what I've done is primarily use hard money, which is kind of like a bank, but not really, right? It's just some folks with some money.
A couple people listening. I mean, got a couple of those dollars they can throw
Listen,
around.
let me. I'll let you hold something. You
Yeah,
gonna give
it's
me
gonna
something
cost
back,
you
right? It's
something.
gonna
Yeah,
cost you
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Let me hold something, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So they kind of dictate what those numbers look like, right?
Okay.
So they're only going to lend on so much of a deal. So once you find out what their numbers look like, then you go and look for deals based on what their
On what
numbers
that
are,
is.
right?
Okay.
So when I started looking at stuff, I wanted something that was as low like cost as much as possible, because you got to put some skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
You got to have some liquid assets. You got to have some cash money to be able to spend and put down on stuff.
Right.
And even though there are ways of doing it that you don't need as much liquid assets, you paying for that, right?
Right. Right.
You paying for that in other ways,
Right.
right? So you gotta have a little skin in the game. You gotta have some money to be able to do that. But sometimes you can get creative about how you get that money.
Okay.
And so you just got to be smart and know what those ways are. I say one big thing that was helpful to me at times is you can take out various types of loans, but you just got to be disciplined,
Okay.
right? To pay that money back, or
Right.
and or pay yourself back.
Right.
If you're borrowing from yourself, borrowing from your savings, that sort of thing,
Right.
to kind of get the ball rolling. And then being smart about the deal, right? If you're not really into, like, you're not following the market in the real estate game, get with somebody who is.
Right.
Right? Get you a realtor. I know some people kind of frown on that because they're like, you gotta pay them commissions and stuff like that. But they do a
This
job.
is
They
what they
perform a
do.
service.
Yeah. Everybody gotta get paid.
So you want to link up with people who know the game out there, who can kind of spot some deals for you. I have a great realtor that I work with, and he stays on it, right?
Okay.
He's grinding like I'm grinding. He's texting me 11, 12 o'clock at night.
got
like,
this for you.
Yo, I got this off market deal that just slid by me, a wholesaler trying to get rid of it. You interested? But also finding stuff that's just on the regular MLS, just
Right.
on the where everybody's seeing
What
it,
everybody
right?
else can see. Yeah. That just makes sense.
It just makes sense, right? So you see those taglines, investor friendly, come and grab and make it your own, right?
Right.
And you go after it, you see what's feasible, but also be realistic, right?
Okay.
Don't be so hungry that you bite something that bites you back.
Bad deal. Yeah. Like you want it so bad that you don't see that this is not a good situation, or it's not a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be smart about that. I think sometimes we could be so aggressive of wanting to be involved with something that you don't see all the red flags, and now, like you said, it bites you, and you ain't nothing. You got to take that.
Yeah.
You gotta take that.
You gotta take that and just know, well, what's the risk, right? Like, there, it's okay to take risks, but sometimes you gotta be calculated about those
Right,
risks,
right,
right? So
right.
if you go into it, you find a property, it looks like a good deal, is, looking like a duck, quacking like a duck,
Right.
then let's get ducky.
Right, 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 right.
But if something ain't right
Something
with
ain't right,
it,
ain't right.
pause. It's
Right.
no, yes, real estate can be a fast paced world where when you see a deal, you kind of got to jump on it. You can't be like
Too
wavering
late, yeah.
because
Somebody
somebody's ready
snatch it right
to
up.
to snatch it right up from you. But it needs to make sense for you.
Okay.
One Another piece of advice I will offer is, if you're gonna try to get into this world and it's your first time, you're kind of uncertain about some things. Definitely try to do a deal that's close in proximity to where you live,
Okay. Something that
because you can
you
manage
can get
it.
to.
Yeah, you can get
Put
to.
your
You can go
eyes on
see
it.
it,
You can go
right?
see what's going on abroad.
Yeah.
Because I know some people that invest in stuff that's out of town and out of states and stuff like that. But me, I gotta be able to drive by that thing, man, and see what's going on. Check, make sure everything is good. Make sure it's still standing. you know. So I get that, especially if you have a job, right? Because
Yes.
if it's all the way out of town and stuff like that, it's if you don't want most of your time going into driving to the location, you know what I mean? You only got a couple extra hours, so at least
Yeah.
let it be somewhere that's close. You know what I mean? That makes a lot of sense. Where was your first house that you flipped at? What town was it in?
It was in the same town that I lived.
Oh,
It
it was
was
the same
literally
town.
like around the corner from my
Okay.
house. So
So
I
you was able
literally,
to,
yeah, I
yeah,
was there literally every
every day.
single day.
Okay.
Every single day, checking on the progress or doing work myself, right? Putting
Mm-hmm.
down floors, tiling, all types of stuff. And so that was the benefit of that.
Okay.
I can't imagine if I had done that project and it was, oh, I'd probably
30
still
minutes
be
away,
there.
40 minutes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
I'm like,
it's too
yo,
much.
give me an air mattress. I'm sleeping. I'm,
Definitely.
I'm spending the night because this is going to take me an hour just to
Just the
get there.
drive, yeah. That
It,
just
it
kind
gets
of go
to,
against, yeah.
yeah, it gets to be too much after a while, especially if you've got to manage the project yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the game is about keeping as much as that of that money in your
In your
pocket.
pocket, yeah. Because you don't know where the hiccups is going to come, too. So you got to kind of be proactive and ahead of the game. Speaking of that, what is a good time frame for a fix and flip? How long from the time that you acquire the project, your property, to that you sell it, are you trying to hold on to?
I would say ideally no more than 90 days.
Okay.
You know, and 90 days is kind of a funny mark, right? I say 90 days because most people go into it thinking, this is a
60
quick
days.
one,
Yeah. I'm going to
right?
get in and out of this
30
job.
days, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be done. And it's like, okay, but you ain't got no plumbing, you ain't got no electric.
Right.
Like, you got to get a permit. The
Right.
permit takes some time. You got to
Right.
apply for it. You got to this. You got to do that, right? And you want to do things right.
Right.
So if that's your motivation, if you want to do it the right way, yeah, 90 days is about an ideal time. So that means whatever your holding costs are. So things like if you're having to pay interest on a loan that you took out to acquire the property,
Right.
if you've got to pay for utilities, I don't know how many people pay taxes. Usually, you can just wait till you get to closing to pay whatever back taxes you
What's
owe or
owed.
whatever. Yeah, it ain't gonna go for tax sale that quick, right?
Right.
But some of those things that I gotta have the electricity on here. I gotta
Yeah.
have the water on in here,
Right,
right? Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna have to pay those bills. So plan for that sort of stuff.
Okay.
While
And the
you're
mortgage,
holding
because
it.
the longer you hold it, the more you got to pay on
Yeah,
that
the more you
mortgage.
gotta,
So
the
you're
more you
trying to
gotta pay
get,
that
yeah. That's
that
cutting into your
interest.
profits.
Yeah, so
You
you
have to
gotta
be very
calculate that
strategic,
too in the
yeah,
beginning.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not even think about that. Like, oh no, the longer I have this, every month that I have this, that's another check that I got to go out. And right now, mortgages is crazy.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to be very strategic.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to realize that even when you go to finally sell it, right? Most people are not. Now, this is where you really make the money. And this is where I had to like draw the line for myself. I can make way more money on my flips if I just became a real estate agent, right?
Yeah.
Because then I would list my own houses, right?
Yeah. So that
So when
extra
when I
3% or whatever
yeah,
that case
yeah,
is,
yeah,
you're keeping in your
I'm keeping it
pocket.
in my pocket, right?
'Cause that's a nice little. It could be 4, 5 thousand, 6 thousand, almost $10,000 that you partner away with,
Yeah, yeah. So
depending on what you're selling it
depending on
for.
what you're selling it for, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got to think about that too, because in the
She
end,
about to go get
nah,
another.
negative, negative.
She about to
Trust me,
become
you're
a
not
real
gonna catch
estate
me.
agent. Yeah. About to take that class. Go ahead and
Trust
get
me,
my
you ain't gonna have me on the next episode, right?
yeah.
How she became a
How she became
realtor.
a real estate. Yes.
Nah,
Nah.
I had to draw the line. I just don't have the time for it,
Some things,
especially
yeah.
because although I have so many hustles, right,
Yeah.
that I'm doing, I enjoy them,
Yeah.
right, and I have to be able to have enough time for them.
Yes.
And that would be something that
That's just too much.
it's too much of a commitment.
That's what I learned. I mean, we had this conversation when we was at Starbucks one time. I said, it's okay to have as many hustles as you want, but you got to know when the side thing is affecting the main thing. You never want the side hustle to affect the main hustle. You know what I mean? So you always got to make sure the one thing that's keeping the roof over your head, is paying your bills, that's giving you that luxury lifestyle that you want, is staying in the forefront, and you don't start doing things that now is taking away from that's affecting how you perform, taking away from your time. You know what I mean? A lot of times people start hustles, and it's just taken away from the thing that's just making the most sense. It's like, this doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean? And I learned that with with business and my services. I realized that sometimes you have too many services, but only, like they say, like only 20% of the things that you offer is bringing in like 80% of the business. Funny you talk about holding costs. Any craft that you do, you have to maintain that skill too, right? So if I'm doing filmmaking, and if I'm also doing weddings, and I'm doing photography and stuff, like, I can't, it's not just like, okay, if you order this service is good, I still have to maintain that the knowledge for that service. I still have to maintain the equipment, and sometimes it might just be better to just cut it off. So for you saying basically, like, the real estate might just be too much, is because it might just take away from the main thing. So you thinking like, okay, that little bit of extra bread would be nice, but it may take away from something else. So
Yeah.
that's a very strategic move.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it worth the squeeze?
Is it worth it? that's the theme of the show.
So,
Is it worth the squeeze? You know what I mean?
If not, if it's gonna leave
Let
a
it
bitter
go.
taste,
Let it go.
let it go.
And before I close, I think that was a really important thing that you mentioned, intentionality, being intentional with just life in general. I think we have to be very intentional. When I learned that when you're intentional, you can cut out the things that no longer work with whatever you're trying to do within your life, right? If I know I'm trying to get from New Jersey to New York, a pit stop at the shore may not be on the schedule. You know what I mean? Because I know this is where I'm kind of go. If I don't know where I'm going, then I can take these detours and all this other stuff. So I think being intentional with your moves, your career, your life is, like you said, knowing the vision going into it. This is what I'm trying to get out of it. So I know this contractor is not the right person. This is not adding up. You know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be. So I think that was a really key thing. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Been an amazing guest.
Appreciate it.
It's interesting to see trials and tribulations within it. Just talking to you, I think it inspires, whether you're trying to get into real estate or just any dream chasing. You know what I mean? Like, it's very hard to achieve anything. Life is very hard, right? You know what I mean? Especially anything that we're trying to do on our own that's not kind of like given to you. Like, granted, when you're 9 to 5, you got to go and do the work. I know you like to talk a lot, but you still got to do the work. But a lot of that is kind of like really set up already for you, right? When you go to work, they tell you this is the scope of the work. This is what you kind of need to do. This is what you need to be doing. But when you're doing your own thing, when you're flipping your own house, or when you're running your own business, you don't always have somebody that's just going to tell you this is the direction of how you got to do. You got to kind of figure that out on your own. Yeah. So, like, before we close it out, like, how do you manage a 9 to 5 and your own business per se? Like, how do you navigate that? Like, what is What's some game you would give to somebody that's trying to do their own thing?
I would say if you're trying to do your own thing, figure out if you just want that to be a side thing,
Okay.
right? Because sometimes we go into it thinking that, well, I want to do my own thing and I want that to be the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get kind of caught in a rut because we don't know how to make that transition from that main bread and butter,
Yep.
right?
To the side thing.
To the side thing, right? Being the main thing,
Right.
right? And so you kind of have to decide, right? Do I want to be hustling and flowing with multiple things,
Right.
or do I feel like I'm not really built like that, and I just want to keep one thing the main thing,
Right.
and then figure out a plan on how to execute getting into something else,
Right.
right? It might it's gonna take some sacrifice,
Yes.
and that sacrifice might be that money, might be them benefits, them health benefits we getting folks, man.
Oh,
They
man,
be
them health
like,
benefits ain't
I'm
no
gonna go
joke.
on that Obamacare
Yeah. Hey,
for
listen.
a little minute.
Yeah, for a minute. You know what I mean? Yeah, them job health care, them benefits is crazy. You know what I mean? They start cutting into your check. You be like, do I need this? I'm gonna go get this little side janky joint. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean,
Go
get your
get some
health care.
herbs.
Right. Start doing your own thing. Nah, it's been amazing, man. I appreciate you for coming out, giving us some good wisdom. Close it out with a words of wisdom. Anything that you want to give to the people before I shut it all the way down. Anything you want to say to to the people? Anybody that's trying to do what they doing or
To the people,
Yeah.
have that unlocked mindset.
Yeah.
Right. So whatever your zip code is that you're trying to unlock, work for it.
yeah.
Build up a team support around you, and put your mind to it.
There you go. I can't close it out much better than that. You heard it. Go unlock some zip codes. Go travel. You know what I mean? You know, me being a workaholic myself, I had to start balancing my part of my life because I would just be running and gunning and gunning. And when I go on vacations, I'd be thinking about work. And one thing I learned from a mentor of mine, Jim Rohn, a lot of people know online, he said, you know, when you're at the beach, be at the beach, and when you're at work, be at work. Don't mix the two. You know, don't be at the beach thinking about work, and when you're at work, don't be at the beach. And I had to learn that because sometimes when I'm on the beach, I be thinking about work. And I say all that to say, you know, we need to have a much balanced life as we possibly can. It's never going to be 50-50, but you got to have a little bit of balance, man. You can't be running and gunning all day, and you can't be on the beach all day either. You know what I mean? So I would just say, go find some balance, you know, very intentional with your life and go direct your success. You know, whatever it is you're trying to achieve in this world, you are in control of your own destiny. Just go do it, you know, and get you a team and, you know, believe in yourself. Confidence is everything. And whatever you are trying to achieve, I believe that you can do it. So I'm out of here. I'm going to see y'all next week. Oh, yeah. Tell them where they can follow you. Well, tell them how they can unlock some zip codes, man. Stop playing. You know what I mean? Talk to them.
Come on, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Zip Codes Unlocked, all one word. And I'll be sharing some of those great tips about real estate and investing. You'll see me getting down and dirty
Yeah.
with some of
go.
my projects, right? Some of the things that inspire me and doing some of these deals, as well as some of the shortfalls, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
yes.
not all about the good.
not
I
all
want
sweet.
to be as transparent as possible so that people see that it's possible, but it's gonna take hard work.
Yes, definitely. Listen, again, I can't close it out any better than that. I want to thank y'all. Make sure you follow her. She's going to be giving y'all a lot of jewels and gems for people that are trying to get into the real estate. She's going to have a very big online presence because you know as much as she, as my homegirl, as much as she like to talk and travel, she's very low key. You know what I mean? But you need to be out there giving out this game because there's not a lot of people out here that's doing real estate, especially people that have 9-to-5 jobs. Because a lot of times we think we can only do one thing, but she's proven and showing that you can do more. And if you want to unlock these zip codes, then these are some of the things you need to do. So follow her, follow me at Dreamboy Vision. Go watch some of the films. They're also on Tubi. And make sure y'all like and subscribe, man. Because a lot of times y'all be watching and It take 1 second to click that little hand button. It's the little like button. You know what I mean? Just bop. You know what I mean? Leave a little comment, a little heart or something, man. Get them algorithms jumping in our way. And but thank y'all, man. I had an amazing time. Thank you. I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
you. Appreciate you being a good friend. You know, we've been cool for so many years, and a lot of time, everybody can't say that. So first and foremost, thank you for being a friend. You know, somebody I know I can always call on, regardless how many times we talk or don't talk in a year. I know I can call you.
Come on.
And
We're
you
gonna be
know, it's
unlocking
always
some
gonna be
zip
love.
codes.
We got, yeah, I mean,
we'll have
they
to get
just
on
want
that
to
plane
DR.
to
Yeah, I
get
got it.
creative
Yeah,
together. You
I got
heard?
to, because you know that plane thing. That's where we gonna be creating some things. So I think I'm gonna start unlocking some zip codes with you. Looking into some real estate investing, and I'm definitely about to see what's up with DR, because I know you said you got some properties about to
Come
be
on.
jumping
Oh
out there that she
man.
building from the
I'm
ground up.
trying to,
I
send
love
money,
it.
please.
Yeah, yeah,
Come
yeah.
on, send some money. We need
Gotta
to
go
be
make this
out
thing
there.
happen.
That,
Yeah,
folks that look like us, we out there, man, buying
exactly.
up everything. So
Everything.
let's get out there, get us some properties, Airbnb,
Yeah,
VRBO.
yeah.
Hey, what the heck? Let's 10, 15 years from now live out there.
And be out there. Yeah, yeah. Who said we gotta stay out here? Who said we
Who
gotta
said we
stay
gotta
out
stay
here? No, no. We can go wherever we want. That's what we're trying to put in the work now. So in 10 years, we can be on the island, any beach we want to be. All right. So I'll see y'all next week. We out of here. Go make it happen. Whatever y'all trying to do, go do it.
Peace.
Peace.